Hi, I'm Marcus Benoit, and this is Empire Radio Sounds. I created this vlog to give some exposure to our local 518 area musicians, composers, and songwriters, and beyond that region as well. I hope you enjoy today's show. Thomasina Winslow is a locally based singer-songwriter, guitarist, social activist at times, soon-to-be author, Delta Blues and beyond artist from our upstate New York area. Thomasina has roots that go back to her great-grandfather, who was a performing musician. She shared this insight with me about her great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was a music performer in his region of Martin County, North Carolina, and neighboring counties. He was a singer and quills reed player. He was born in 1872, so I am assuming the time period he was active was somewhere around the turn of the century. My clue about that is he was performing Stephen Foster's song, I Dream of Jeannie with the Light Brown Hair, which was a favorite at the time. My father tells me people enjoyed hearing him play that song in those days. What we call blues today, at that time was called reels, R-E-A-L-S, as in songs about real life. Thomasina is daughter of Thomas Griffin Winslow, who was a prominent American folk singer and writer, best known as a disciple of Reverend Gary Davis and a former member of Pete Seeger's band. Thomas Winslow's song, Hey Look Yonder, was the first environmental song by an African-American songwriter, predating Marvin Gaye's Mercy Mercy Me, The Ecology by 2 full years. I have had the good fortune to share the bandstand with Thomasina in the local blues rock band Night Train for the past couple of years and have come to learn of the many irons she has in the fire, both musically and in education and social activism. Thomasina has traveled nationally and internationally, bringing the world of the blues to diverse audiences as far away as Australia and Europe. Her performances are characterized by her stellar acoustic guitar chops and rich, warm vocals. In recent years, Thomasina has been lending her vocals to the New York-based blues band Night Train, which has broadened Thomasina's talents within an electric blues format. Thomasina is the founder of STEAM, an acronym for Strength Through Expressive Arts Mentoring. The program is designed to bring music education to at-risk youth in New York State. It is this work that has set Thomasina apart. Thomasina personally wrote and developed the curriculum of STEAM and has been providing the outreach through direct service in 25% of New York State's OCFS facilities since 2012. STEAM has personally transformed the lives of hundreds of at-risk youth and has graduated students who are today accomplishing their own success in the music industry. In 2019, Thomasina launched a podcast aimed at helping artists bring the business of their performing to the next level. In 2018, Thomasina co-founded the New Baltimore Music and Arts Festival with drummer Al Cash and percussionist Brian Mellick. It was a long-standing vision of Thomasina's to create an event in which artists from the community come together to celebrate themselves and each other. Before we listen to just 2 songs from her large output of music, I just want to say, if you get the chance, hear this local artist live sometime. Today, we'll be listening to Future Blues and then in a funky electric format, Stay Even. After these 2 songs, please stay with us at Empire Radio Sounds for an interview with this very talented and active local artist.
I can't tell my future now. I can't tell my past. Can't tell my future now. I can't tell my past. Seem like every minute sure gonna be my last. Well, now the minutes seem like hours and the hours seem like days. Minutes seems like hours and the hours seem like days. Seem like that man ought to stop his mean and low down ways. loving that he's lightning when he smiles. Tailor made, ain't no hand-me-down. Now you see that picture now, sitting up on my shelf. See that picture now, sitting up on my shelf. Tell by that I'm sick and tired of being by myself. When your mind says there's no hope, you gotta stay even. When your body doesn't seem to want to move, you know you gotta stay even. You gotta tell it it's not true. I'm not gonna listen to the fear mongering you do. I'm gonna stay even. Yeah, stay even. When your money can't reach your hands, you gotta stay even. When the bank tries to put your check on hold, you know you gotta stay even. I know it seems like there's no hope, but if you stay even, guaranteed you'll be able to cope. So just stay even. Listen now, when politicians threaten your lifestyle, you gotta stay even. You gotta tell them where they're going wrong, but all the while you're even. There's no doubt they can catch up to you. Hold your hand up and say, stop, that ain't true, I won't believe it, I'm even. I'm even. Yeah. Listen now. Take us to church, Mike. Come on.
Hello, Thomasina Winslow. Thank you so much for being on Empire Radio Sounds. I'd like to start today with asking you a question. Give us a little background about the song Future Blues. Who originally did it, and how did you decide this was a song that you wanted to record?
Uh, this song has been in my music history, my learning, all my life. My father did a version of it. The originator, sometimes people think it's William Brown, and some people think it's Willie Brown. Most likely Willie Lee Brown, who was born in Clarksdale, Mississippi. That's the headquarters of acoustic blues.
Okay.
And his contemporaries were Charlie Patton, Lonnie Johnson, who was a great jazz player as well. Tommy Johnson and Robert Johnson, who we know and love. They all worked together in the same circles. So that was the originator. I changed some of the words to make it more gender appropriate,
Certainly.
Yeah, and it had to be the first song that I did on this Return album because my dad did it, and when I was practicing it, I kept running into rhythmic problems because it was thought to be one of the most difficult songs in that form because of all of the rhythm and lyrical rhythm back and forth. And I had to listen to my dad's album to understand where I was having difficulties. Like, what am I doing? What's going on here? And I love a challenge. So that is part and parcel of why I chose that song and why I love it so much, because when you listen to it, you can hear the influence on funk, with the popping strings and that sort of thing. And I'm all about what originally started this, and fortunately I grew up hearing it and learning it.
Oh, good. Well, now that I know that your father did a version of it, I haven't heard that yet, so I'm going to have to look that up. And I do want to get into the guitar part of it in these questions because it's a huge part of it. Which brings me to my next question. On Future Blues, there's a term that I remember from my college days, and it was called word painting. I noticed how there's a strong bass line throughout in your guitar accompaniment that it sometimes plays off of either the lyrics or the guitar counter melody or improvisation that helps propel the lyrics of an unhappy woman in this case. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Oh, yeah. Yes. In just about every blues song, there's something like that where it's a capsule of what's going on in this person's life. And a fun fact about the acoustic blues, Delta blues, in my great grandfather's day when he was playing in barrel houses, those were called reels, not like the Irish reel, but REALS.
Okay, I'm learning something here. This is new territory for me. Educate me.
And that's going in my book. It's a very at that time, this was not the only music that the people played. The musicians played. My great grandfather, everybody loved to hear him play I Dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair.
Right.
That was one of his hits. You have your cover hits. And these songs, like Future Blues and the other songs on my album, my other two albums, were songs that were about real life. So it's like soap opera in song. So it really is word painting or tone poems, really.
So can I interrupt you for just a moment? So this interplay between the guitar work and the vocals, it's intriguing, and it's really what blues is all about, in my opinion. So the guitar work propels the storyline, I think. that bass line in particular, it's almost angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to be, it's a little bit, when I'm performing it, I'm thinking in terms of almost like method acting, because you can't
Sure.
play that song with, feeling euphoric. You have to, you got to come into this mood, and the first notes, I can't tell my future. And it's, it really does lend itself. Each one of those things, the lyric rhythm or the guitar accompaniment, can stand on its own.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So the marriage of the two, that is a real sonic boom. There's a lot of, it really is a lot of, it's a great show ender, it's a great show beginner, but you have to be in that mood, and the guitar work has to be automatic, because it is not easy. It is a very technically difficult piece to play, because it is not only based on guitar music, but it's borrowing from piano music, which is a lot of guitar music did at that time. You had the boogie woogie piano, you had the ragtime piano. It was not necessarily only in the era that we think of it. The piano work was being, I would say, developed, and all of those different aspects of it came together. And then when you have somebody that's a guitarist with slide and all of those different things, you had to fill it out. So that's also part of the guitar role in that case.
Well, and it kind of leads directly to my next question. When you put together a voice and acoustic guitar, which my very limited experience of doing single work with piano and singing, you're right, you have to be an actress as well as, or an actor as well as, doing the music, which made me realize this ain't for me. I'll go back to playing the saxophone, but because you're working hard when it's just you and a guitar and a story, right?
Yes.
So my question is, when you put your music together with voice and acoustic guitar in your single setting, how do you go about approaching it? Do the words come? I'm talking about writing music now.
Oh, writing. Okay.
Yeah. Do the words come first? Do the guitar company come first? How do you go about it?
I am primarily a guitarist. That's what I first fell in love with. So I'm thinking about the guitar, but even more than that, where the music is concerned, I'm thinking about the bass line. What is my bass line going to be?
Okay, very interesting.
Yes,
because that propels the rhythm, right?
It does. It does, and the rhythm kind of follows along. I can't help it. I'm doing this now.
That's all right.
I got to envision it, but that's also a part two answer, because I've been fortunate enough to be commissioned to write songs.
Okay.
So when I had not only one song come to me that someone wanted me to write for a certain subject, I had two about the same time, and it was two different things. So I had to experiment with that and say, okay, I'm going to have to think about how to represent the subject matter that they want me to represent. But I still kind of slipped into what am I going to do with the guitar? What am I going to do with the music? So I'm going to have to say that the music kind of comes first.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I can completely understand that. So I'd like to ask you a little bit about your childhood experience growing up, basically on stage. I mean, that's really it seems like a blessing for a musician to come up that way.
It is, and the combination of music that I was exposed to first was folk, folk singing family. So that, and then my own personal interest with classical music, classical guitar, was very exciting to me. Even at that time, I can, as much as I can look back when I was cognizant, I enjoyed and was really just attracted to doing the music and doing the different songs and singing with my dad or with my mom. And my first my producing gig was when I was 4. I always tell people this is one of my stage stories, which goes along with being a folk musician. You got to talk a little bit. The audience wants you to talk to them. But this is a funny thing, because my dad's album, which I think I can't see it, called "It's the Clear Water," and I was 4, and he was singing one of my songs that I sing with him on stage. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the devil's after me, 4, 5, 6, etc. And he was singing it by himself. That just didn't seem right. So I wiggled away from my mom and I walked into the cutting room and I said, "Daddy, that's not how to sing that song." And the engineer is like, "Well, how do you sing it?" And then I sang it. I looked at my dad very expectantly, like, start playing. And it's on the album. So
I got more to listen to now. I can see after this, that you've got me, you got my curiosity piqued here.
Oh yeah, that was me bossing my dad around for the first time.
Well, daughters can do that.
Daughters do that. Yes,
that's their right. Nothing wrong with that. Makes life wonderful.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I was listening to bits of your return release, LP release, and I can't get my ears off your guitar work. I really love it. In our own experience together with Night Train, I don't get to hear it, because it's a different format, which we'll talk about later. But so how did you learn and develop your acoustic guitar style? Did you study classical music as well as learning by ear, or how did you go about developing this wonderful style?
Thank you. I loved it so much. I was playing the folk music, and I really kind of took to finger picking.
Okay.
Folk style, finger style blues. But when I was about 6 or 7, I really liked listening to Andre Segovia records, and a lot of times I think children's musical tastes are shaped by what their parents listen to.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is happening now with the young people. Hearing what their parents listen to, and then kind of liking to hear that live. I think we've had that experience as of late. So I started to play along with the Andre Segovia records by ear.
Really? Wow.
Because I loved it. There's one song I still haven't revisited it, but he had this piece called Granada. And I would take my dad's guitar and start picking it out. And my dad would say, "Hey, put my guitar down. I don't want you to damage it." But I didn't know. What I didn't know is that he kept letting me play longer and longer. I find this out when I'm 30 years old. It's like, I was letting you play it longer and longer just to hear. And that's how we decided to get you classical lessons.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know for 30 some years that 20 some years that I was manipulated into that. But then when I started doing it, then my parents were, okay, you're doing this and now you need to stick with it. But they timed that perfectly because I studied classical, and that's what my degree is in. My degree is in classical guitar.
Okay, and you know, Friday night when I was AWOL from night train, I was playing a church concert with one of your teachers, Sten Isaacson.
Oh yes, yes.
And he told me that, oh yeah, Thomasina, she studied with me.
Yeah, I did. I did.
It's a small world.
Yes, he helped me get through that that last bit for my bachelor's, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you view playing the electric side of your songs as opposed to the acoustic music? I guess what I'm asking here is, how do you switch gears mentally, or what is it that you're trying to achieve in electric format that makes it different?
Well, the first thing is that I had to realize that the electric guitar was a different tool and had a different role. So because I'm kind of a study head, I really took a lot of time working on the electric guitar, and my tendency to want to play more because of what I play with the acoustic. I had to learn how to back that off and play more accurately, more appropriately in my role as rhythm guitarist, or it's just a matter of wanting to do more, you know.
Okay, so you had to pull back a little.
Yeah, because there's a and also just the physical techniques, you know, playing with making the pick work. When I teach, I tell my students, I want you to work with the fingers, work with the hands first, because it's a matter of getting, for me, getting tone control in your fingers so that you can switch from one thing to the other. If you have to play a mandolin, you can, you know, get yourself to the point where you can study it and educate yourself and be able to do it. So that was exciting to me, to have the opportunity to go from the acoustic picking where I'm playing all the parts,
right,
to, hey, I'm just gonna do this, you know.
Let me be part of the ensemble.
Yes, ensemble playing. And I think, you know, to go back, I mean, we both, you know, done the music college thing, but to go back to Mozart's father, he wrote a whole thing about, if you can only play solo, that's not, that you have to increase your value by being able to play in an ensemble.
Okay.
So he wrote a whole article about, you know, playing as an ensemble musician as well as as a soloist. So I went all the way back to that that education, you know.
Sure.
So, and the other thing too is choosing an instrument that's compatible with that style. And I found that a Telecaster was the one that I landed on.
And it seems like the Telecaster is the workhorse of most electric guitar work.
Yes.
It seems flexible enough to, if you had to, you could do a jazz thing, or you could do a rock thing, and so forth.
Yeah.
Along these same lines, my next question, it's a long one, so I'm going to read it right off the page.
Okay.
Okay. In your song, Stay Even, the beginning funky guitar riff is great, in that it stands out on its own. As a musician, when I hear it, it immediately makes me feel like playing, and that's the truth. The riff reminds me of something like, say, the beginning riffs on Sly and the Family Stone, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself. Or also, and I just picked this up the other day, I was checking it out, the song Susie Q, well, yeah, the original is okay. Certainly, it's wonderful, but Johnny Winter does a really funky version of it. I don't know. It's just maybe it's just Johnny Winter. So leading up to my question, did this guitar riff for Stay Even, did it just come through spontaneous inspiration, or did you work it through with a lot of experimentation?
Mm.
Because it sets up the whole song.
Yes, I was influenced just by those things that you mentioned. I was thinking of, okay, Sly and the Family Stone. I was thinking primarily of Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay.
Because the way that Stay Even happens musically, I wanted a call and response. Call and response I'm very accustomed to.
Right.
And I wanted call and response in that song. So between the voice and, you know, when Quiggs plays those answers.
Okay. Okay. Between the two guitars in particular.
Yes. And I was thinking of Stevie Ray Vaughan's song, well, many of the songs he does, but specifically Crossfire.
Okay.
You know, where he's, you know, he sings, well, I'm caught in the crossfire. So I said, ha 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 ha. Wait, yeah. So like I said earlier, I think of the bass line, and I wanted to come off of that bass line, and I was just like,
okay.
You know, and that was really kind of my process, and one of the strongest things about this song, I think, and with any song, is when you have unison parts, the guitar part and the bass playing the same bass line.
Yeah.
Oh, to me, that's so powerful. And
it is.
And what I love about Night Train, is that everything that I envisioned and that I heard, y'all did. You know, it's like the band just made it sound like I wanted it to sound.
Well, very fortunate that we got, when you're on board, and we got two guitar players doing two different things and the keyboard player. You know, it makes for a lot of music that can happen to enhance the song and so forth, and like that.
And not to mention your killer.
Well,
sax solos.
Well, thank you kindly.
Every time, nail it every time.
I'm long-winded. I'm very long-winded. I was a noisy kid.
Well,
still am.
Thankfully.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words. The blues is sometimes defined as a musical expression of sadness or hard times, but your song Stay Even is a song of advice in the face of adversity. Could you give us a little background on how writing this song came about? I know the backstory, but our listeners don't. And B, give us a little insight into Thomasina Winslow's personal philosophy regarding hope or action in an answer to life's adversities. Okay. Okay. I mean, we got talking about this a little bit last summer, but it's so that's a two-part question.
Okay. The backstory of this song came from an experience that I had, an unfortunate end to it. A very dear friend of mine was, and she wouldn't mind me saying this because she told me, you can tell people, she was fighting cancer. And when she was first, diagnosed and they were deciding what to do, she had said to me when I went to visit her in the hospital, and she was moving around. She wasn't bedridden,
right,
as of yet. It was in the very beginning when they were trying to decide how to approach things. And she said, "Is there anything that comes to your mind, to kind of help me through this?" And I wasn't going to tell her because when she asked me, that was my cue to tell her. And what kept coming to my mind, and what, came to me in dreams, and when I was sitting and being still, was stay even.
Mhm.
Stay even. And she said, that's really good. Yeah, that's really, that calms me. It was about
Excellent.
serenity, and the song just came. That was one of those times where there was no process. The song just came. I was just taking dictation on
Beautiful.
the
Yeah.
lyrics.
Yes. And I understand that. And
Yeah.
those are the best songs when they just come out like that.
Yeah, they just come out, and it's just like a matter of, it's all there. And each one of those verses talks about different things that she was going through. When your
Right.
mind says there's no hope, you got to stay even. When your body doesn't seem to want to move, there were times when she was, texting me, it's like, I'm not moving very well today. And that breaks your heart, because it's nothing
Sure.
that you can do.
Sure.
The pain meds aren't really doing anything today. And it's just like, what, but the happy part of it in the middle of this, because the pandemic, there was not much they can do in the hospital because they didn't know anything. So there was a delay of her treatment. And however, she came to hear the song, and she heard the song and danced to the song.
I remember that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she was able to hear it and dance to it. And
That's
unfortunately,
wonderful.
everything that it was just too much for her.
Yeah.
And Stay Even was hard to sing after that, but I had to follow my own advice.
Yeah, well, every night we play it, it's a blast. So
Yes.
you bring good vibes to a rough situation.
Yeah.
Which, my second part of my question, I'm not going to let you off the hook.
Ah.
What is your philosophy to when we face life's adversities? How do you cope?
My thought is, keep working.
I like that.
Yes, and I can't really own it, but I agree with it. From where I heard it from, I heard it from some person that was. I
wonder if we heard it from the same person, because I used to hear when I used to work at one of the tougher schools. One of my coworkers, he used to always say, "Keep it moving, just keep it moving." It's such profound, good advice in the face of adversity. I think
it is
one step at a time.
I've heard someone say too, and I agree with it, is, do you really want it to stop? You say, I just wanted to stop. If it stops, you stop.
How about that? You're right.
And that's why it goes back to keep working. Yeah. Keep working,
So we got some logic behind the answer. That's good.
Yeah. So good. It's also resilience, and I do realize that there are people who don't have that resilience, and I see that as not everybody can keep taking it on the chin.
Right.
Not everybody can do that. So be grateful that you can, and keep working.
Yeah. And if you got a tool like we were talking about here, a way to cope, keep it moving, whatever, go around it and come back to it later, whatever.
Yeah. That's one of the lines in Stay Even, if you stay even, guaranteed you'll be able to cope. So just stay even.
I like it. Okay. As a bandmate in Night Train, I have to say I love what you bring to the bandstand. I've been there 18 years. You've been there the last couple of years, and it's really broadened our whole thing. Both in your own songs that you bring and in the backing vocals. When we're all singing background vocals and the stars and the moon are aligned, it's wonderful. Is there a particular way in a perfect world where you would go about background vocals in your own music?
I love harmonies,
Mm,
and I'm a big fan of Emmylou Harris,
okay.
who has always had the reputation of being able to sing and harmonize with anybody. Um, and I love that. I love that there are men who want to sing. Historically, you know, in high school,
Yeah.
the guys
Yeah.
don't want to be a chorus.
Right. Even though that's where all the girls are. It makes no
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. You know, I don't know what the thing is, but there are
They're shy.
bands. Hmm?
They're shy.
They are, yes,
You know,
but
I never sang till I was 40 in front of
really,
people. Yeah.
huh,
Um,
huh,
I mean, I always listened to singers, especially as a sax
mhm,
player. Probably my favorite is Aretha Franklin for stealing stuff to play. But
yeah,
I had to get over myself. You know, it
mm,
was a big jump to say, all right, I'm going to throw my ego out the door here. And
mm, that's a hard thing to
might
do.
have taken a couple libations at the time, not anymore, but
Hmm.
so yeah, I interrupted you here though about
Oh no, that you're saying in a perfect world, for me in a perfect world, all the guys would be singing.
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and I would be able to direct different parts.
yeah.
And I grew up singing, you know, we were singing folk music, we were singing gospel. There's a lot of harmonies in
Oh
gospel, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh
Uh,
yes, love it.
and yeah, and we had a quartet that was part of our act as a family. My dad would sing, you know, his solo piece, and then solo songs, and then we did our gospel quartet,
Is any of
and it
that
was my
recorded?
job. Hmm?
Is any of that recorded?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
well, boy, I got a lot of listening to do here. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah. It's recorded. I haven't released it on YouTube. I have it on a DVD. Actually, there's a DVD of our whole family doing our show.
Well, I'll have to pick your mind
Yeah,
how to get that.
yeah. I will. I'll send it to you. But you know, it's my job was to find and give each person their part.
Uh-huh.
So when I was teaching classroom, I had a chorus, so I knew how to do that, and I love doing that. You know, I wish I could. I wish I could direct a whole big choral group. You know, let me at Mormon Tabernacle Choir. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you know, just that whole feeling. So bringing it to a a smaller ensemble, being able to have people who can take on any harmony.
It's difficult, you know, because the logistics of reality is you have different players from night to night. People are jumping in
Mhm.
on parts, not jumping in on parts, and so that's the real world we deal with. We do the best we can.
Yes, yes,
You know?
and to have people that can hear things. Harmony is not easy
No,
for
it's
a
not.
lot of people. I was surprised because I lived in harmony, you know,
Yeah.
in that world, and you know, even when Pete Seeger had, you know, the Clearwater Singers together,
Mhm.
you jumped in, and it was just like, and then you came in on the harmony, and
Yeah.
so I can hear those things. So I like hearing them, uh, you know, being sung.
Okay. Well, my final question here, I guess, and again, I'm reading off the page a little bit here, but it comes from the heart. I want to thank you for helping me with my little pet project here, Empire Radio Sounds. It's been a pleasure sharing the stage with you these last few years, and I'm really looking forward to the next several hundred years of
Oh
doing this.
yes,
Okay, you
my
know, it's
pleasure, Mark.
been a lot of fun.
Yes,
So
thank
my
you.
final question, do you have any projects I mean, I know you're pushing a lot of stuff you just finished. Do you have anything new, any writing, any new things on the horizon?
Right now, I have a couple of solo performances coming up,
Uh-huh.
and as far as any new projects, it's going to take a little while to try to record something new. I'd like to do another album, but if I do another album, it will be a band, maybe a trio or a quartet.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
to try to put a rhythm section onto it because people ask for that. And
Nice.
yeah,
That's exciting.
yeah, it is. It is. It's just like, Thomasina Winslow trio or something like that.
Sure.
But it's in the back of my mind, but it's not too far back in the back of
Okay.
my mind. But, it's something. It's probably the next thing that I would do musically if I were going to record.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the work that you've got accomplished so far, it sounds great. Well,
Thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for being on my video log here, and we're
My
going to be
pleasure.
launching it next month. Okay.
Ah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I look forward to it.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
Hi, this has been Empire Radio Sounds. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I hope you'll join us again for our next show. Thank you for listening.